Hi there, everyone. This is Dr. Meyer here with a video for you on the rules of part writing, particularly the chord construction of chords in four voices. Why are we part writing in this class? Well, in music theory, four-part writing is used as a model of harmony and voice leading in more elaborate music, just like we saw in counterpoint models. In fact, four-part writing will be used throughout the entire course of musicianship and theory. Now, on to chord construction. Chord construction is primarily a matter of voicing four notes together. We're concerned with the voices themselves, doubling of the chord tones, and the spacing of the chord across the staff. Here's an example of four-part writing by Michael Pretorius. Listen and sing along with your voice part. This music exhibits the qualities of balance and clarity. How can we make sure that our own part writing exhibits these qualities? Let's start by discussing the voices themselves. Each voice has their own specific range. That is, the notes that a voice can physically sing. These can be seen below for each voice type. In part writing, it's best to use the middle of each voice's range for better balance between the voices. An important aspect of chord writing is deciding which chord tone to double in the three-voice triad. Generally, when the chord is in root position, it's best to double the root for clarity of that root. In terms of tendency tones, it's best not to double them for improved balance. Below there are a few chords in C major. On the left, the diminished chord on scale degree 7 in first inversion contains the leading tone and should not be doubled. In the center, the 5-7 has both the leading tone and the seventh of a chord, both of which are tendency tones and should not be doubled. On the right, the 5 chord in first inversion contains the leading tone, also which should not be doubled. In general, leading tones and sevenths of chords are tendency tones, which should not be doubled. In terms of chord construction, every chord needs a root and a third for better clarity. The root and the third help to define the quality of the triad itself. Without the third, the triad could be major or minor, so the addition of the third helps to clarify the quality. Below we have C major and G minor, both containing the root and the third, which help to define their quality. Normally, each chord will include all of its members, which would be considered a complete chord. But occasionally, the fifth of the chord can be omitted in certain circumstances, which it would then be considered incomplete. Below, both the C major and G minor chords are complete, because all of their members are present. And the G major chord on the right has no fifth, so it is incomplete. In fact, the root is tripled in this case, which is a common doubling in the root position at the end of a piece. The last element of chord construction concerns spacing. It's best to write no more than an octave between the upper voices for better balance. Pay careful attention to the tenor and alto because they are not in the same staff, so it's easy to overlook the spacing between these two voices. The bass voice can be any distance away from the tenor and often works independently from the other voices. In terms of spacing, it's best to avoid voice crossing. That is, like in our example below, where the alto is below the tenor. This type of part writing error would not be permitted in your work. One exception to this rule is that voice overlap by a step is generally not a problem, especially if it's not continued for more than one chord. When writing chords, we distinguish between two forms of spacing that concern the top three voices. In closed position, no chord element could be placed between any of the upper three voices. That is, in this example, all the chord tones in the E minor triad are so close that no other tone could fit between them. So G, B, E is close spacing position. On the other hand, open position means that a chord element could be placed between any of the upper voices. So for example, the E minor triad is spaced so that an E could be placed between the soprano and the alto voices, indicating that this is in open position. Let's practice identifying which chord tone has been doubled and which spacing position these chords are in. Listen first to the part writing example. Pause the video and take your time. The one chord has the root doubled and is in closed position. The 2/6 has the root doubled and is in open position. The 5 chord in root position has the root doubled and is in open position. The last chord is also in root position with the root tripled, but it also contains no fifth. This final chord is also in open position. Notice that each of these voices move by step or small leap to reach the next tone, except the bass, which leaps more than the other voices in order to support the chords. The doubling within each chord often facilitates this smooth voice leading. About part writing, we learned that voices, doubling, and spacing all play a role in chord construction. It's important to remember that all chord members should be present and to avoid common errors like voice crossing and doubling of tendency tones. All of these rules for part writing are meant to improve the balance and the clarity within your part writing. That's all for now. Thank you for watching.